The
Hello, all. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first ever Pangburn update. You guys might know me, Don Don. You've seen me before. I frequently have done some little, hosted a few of Pangburn's live events here on YouTube, and I met him once in real life, which is pretty cool. And what this show is going to be for all of us, because we used to have the Rumble at this time, if you remember that, but we're going to change it to the update. It's going to be me, John, and Travis is sometimes going to be joining us. The whole point of this update is to keep you updated on what is happening inside the Pangburn universe. That is what we do on Discord, what is trending on YouTube, and what the other content creators who are related to this channel are also doing. Talk about it and debate it. And every week, my good friend John is going to join us. John, you are now on screen. Say hello to everyone.
Hello,
Uh,
everybody.
now, you guys remember John? He's like, the other guy who does the show, Royal Rumble. He's the most amazing individual ever as well. And him and I are going to clash a lot, which is going to be good. And of course, the man of the hour himself, Travis Pangburn. Say hi to everyone. Senor Travis.
Hello, Pangburn Universe. It's great to be with you all. Alt-right John Parker, nice to see you, sir.
Just about this label.
And then we got libtard Don Prager.
Only the finest libtard, by the way. I am such a good libtard that I've never lost a single argument or have ever changed my mind. So if anybody can defeat me in an argument or change my mind, I will renounce my libtard hat.
And have you ever dyed your hair purple? You've at least had the impulse to do it.
The state made me do it.
Oh, right. And John, how are your stocks? Are they healthy?
Stocks are well.
Yes. Okay, great.
A little bit of a facade here.
Nice.
Where is it? Nobody knows.
Well, this is fun.
Well, the main question that we're asking today is, I don't know if you, Travis, you've been putting out these Douglas Murray videos over and over and over again, and they have just fucking popped off. Like, for some reason, you're getting within a week 120,000 views on like a 4-minute video just because Douglas Murray is a part of that.
Well, I mean, Pangburn is dominating the YouTube climate right now with regards to the more intellectual clips featuring Douglas Murray. And one of the reasons is because, in the past couple of years, I've dedicated myself to learning and understanding the YouTube algorithm. And it's some things are not too obvious about how YouTube functions, especially when it comes to packaging intellectual content. And I say packaging because the analogy I use is like, I like to wrap videos in like Christmas wrapping that are in the shape of the content, but there may or may not be a surprise for you inside. Yeah. So
I just want to point out that yes, it says, why is Douglas Murray hot? Because it's a double entendre and it's funny. So I just want to point out that's
and exactly also, I mean, like, have you seen the guy in a nice pair of pants? I mean,
he's a good-looking guy. John, don't you agree he's a good-looking guy?
John knows what I'm talking about, right, John?
Yes, good fashion sense is, in short supply, and Douglas certainly displays it. It's a blessing.
No, but it's good. And look, Douglas is an extremely smart guy. Anyone who's read his books, I strongly suggest reading The Strange Death of Europe. And of course, right now with what's going on in Israel, Douglas has been there covering the events as they unfold. And there are a lot of people out there that don't like his attitude towards Islam and Islamism.
And I think a big part of that is also that he's one of the only voices to push back against the progressive left when it comes to Israel. A lot of people just don't want to engage, and he's doing it. So that's kind of where he's getting popularity as well.
Yeah, and by the way, everyone also, in the room right now, take a second to drop a like because it really does help the health of the stream. Thank you. Go ahead, John. Sorry.
True.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely true, but you hear a lot of American pundits, like Daily Wire guys, Fox News types, like you have those people. And Douglas is a little bit different because he's a Brit, and Britain especially has been experiencing this. Again, he wrote about this in The Strange Death of Europe. This type of concern with the rise of Islam. So I think he's singular in what he's arguing for, but he's also kind of singular in his positionality. And being somebody from Britain and being somebody who's been writing on this for a long time, it really feels like a time warp back to, when Sam Harris and Ben Affleck were getting into it on live television about this very same issue. Feels like we're
Yes,
doing Groundhog Day a little bit here.
we are. We're it's
But
criticizing Islam isn't criticizing Muslims, and that's an important thing to remember.
Yeah, exactly. And that mislabeling continues to happen. It's just some people are so committed to that doctrine that if you are out there criticizing Islam, and even if it's in a firebrand sense, which I tend to do, you're being labeled a racist. I'm not racist. I don't think Douglas Murray is racist. He just, like me, does
But
not.
even if he was racist, what he says has nothing to do about the race of Muslims.
Right. And like he has said, he has repeated himself that it's not Muslims that are the problem. It's the bad ideas that radicalize a particular sect of Muslims. That's the problem. And also for people to like, and I don't know where all of this like Islam apologism comes from in the West, but I see a lot of that where a lot of people are kind of treat the Quran or Islam as like a religion of peace or something like that. I still hear that.
I think a big part of that, and Johnny, fill in afterwards. I think a big part of that is that. Sorry, I think a big part of that comes from the fact that other religions have reformed, and they do, because if imagine we were interacting with a Christian belief that resembled Christianity the way it was in the 1400s, I wouldn't call that a religion of peace. I wouldn't even dream to call that a religion of peace. And I would say, no, Christianity currently, as its practice, is not a religion of peace. To say that religion can either be solidified to the parts of the text that you do like, and therefore it's a religion of peace, or simply, as fundamentalists argue, it's only the Quran, that doesn't understand religion. Religion is much more than simply its text. It's the entire institution, governments, peoples. That's what we're talking about. And Islam is a larger body, just like Christianity is different. They're not just their text. We're not fundamentalists here.
Right. And before you go, John, can I just say one thing? It matters what the religion produces. Just to add to that, and I know that's what Don was kind of getting at. He's over here. It matters what the religion produces. It doesn't just matter like, if the text doesn't specifically say go behead this group of people, but the religion is producing people that are frequently doing that or think that they're justified through the religion in doing that, there's a problem. And that problem rests on the shoulder of that religion.
I mean, I think that's 100% right. So I think the big question, which is the one that you asked, Trav, is the key to. Well, there's one question that is the key to answering our question of the show, which is why is Douglas Murray so hot right now? And I think the answer is because Western progressives, along with people who are actually of the Islamic faith, really, really do not like what Douglas Murray is saying. They really, really don't like these criticisms of Islam. So the question to answer that question is what you asked earlier, Trav, which is why? Why is there such a massive not necessarily groundswell, but of support and apologetics for the radicalized and terroristic version of Islam? Why are we seeing that exactly? And I think that's kind of the big question that's going to unlock most of the other answers. And I think that's also why Douglas Murray is so hard right now.
I also want to say I blame Catholics for the fact there's tons of pedophilia in the Catholic Church. That's what I blame. I don't blame environmental factors. I don't blame the Catholic Church's, I don't know, water supply. It's the way in which they're organized, not just their text. The entire organization of the religion is letting this happen and enabling it.
Yeah. And how to deal with the problem, right? If you want to learn how to not deal with the problem, go and research how the Catholics have dealt with the terrorists that just get moved from church to church to church instead of dealing with the fucking issue. They just get moved around. More children get molested. If you ever want to know how not to do something, or if you really hate somebody and you want to give them a bad lesson, tell them that the Catholic Church is doing the right thing with pederasts.
For the record, public school teachers and Protestant priests have a worse track record. Not that any of it's good, but this is something I've noticed. It's popular Catholic priest memes, which
But per
I'm totally cool
capita,
with. I like the memes.
per capita, or just per
So,
total?
yeah.
It must be
As far as I'm aware, yes. I would need to double check this is off the dome,
Last
but
time
as
I
far as I'm
checked,
aware,
that
yes.
was sussy. But that's for another show. We'll disagree on that later. I
Let's
think.
Doesn't
not-
matter. Hey, guess what?
no
It's evil
fist
either way.
fighting. We just turned on the live stream. No fist fighting yet. Let's
Okay,
relax.
fine. So we're gonna watch this first video that is doing the best right now on the channel, and we're gonna react to it with you guys. So the name of this video is "I'm literally a communist idiot." Is what Travis named it. It's doing well. And
Yeah. But there's a comma there, Don. I'm literally a communist idiot. But there was a really funny comment where someone was like, remove the comma. We gotta find that comment and give that guy $1 million because that is fucking hilarious.
Fine. Okay, let's put that up. Let's put this up.
But the argument is something like, you're telling us, the world, that the Enlightenment is the path forward, and it just so happens that you, in the European-derived West, are ahead in the use of these tools, which you claim are the route to discovering the truth of how the universe works. So are you really telling us that it just so happens that the way forward for all of us is a way in which you are all ahead? That sounds like bullshit to us. Right? That sounds like you deciding that it just so happens we're going to settle military matters from now on with basketball. Oh, really? Basketball? That's the game you're going to choose to settle it? It's not going to be soccer or something like that? It's going to be basketball? So the thing that I think we have to notice is that there is truth in the part of this that says that, yes, the power that derives from Enlightenment values is not evenly distributed across the globe. But the question is, are we really supposed to reject the power of the Enlightenment, or are we supposed to democratize the power of the Enlightenment? I think democratizing the power of the Enlightenment is a slam dunk. And I would point out, actually, I feel in a good position to say this because although I am of European descent, I'm also Jewish, and the Enlightenment was not a Jewish phenomenon. But I'm going to wield those tools like a broadsword because they're the best tools. They don't come from my ancestors, but they are useful to me, and they will be useful to my descendants. And anybody who wishes to be powerful on Earth by virtue of understanding how things actually function should level up through the acquisition and enhancement of this particular toolkit. So that's really, I think, the battle we're in. Are we supposed to reject the toolkit in order to level the playing field, or are we supposed to bring everybody on board with the toolkit so that everybody has access to these most powerful tools for discovering how things function?
Don,
Now,
I'm
wouldn't
sure
the social
wanna
justice warriors who hounded you out of a
that.
job say that they actually
Yeah, I
are
gotta
on the
pause
side of
that
the
real- we gotta
Enlightenment
pause
and
that
that
real quick. We gotta pause that real quick.
I can see you salivating at the.
Okay. This is what I have to say about that. I think that this, because he's talking about communism, obviously. He's talking about people who reject specific Enlightenment teachings. That is a product of the Enlightenment. I think to separate that from communism or progressivism or specific change and rejection of all tools as not an Enlightenment thing is just neutering the Enlightenment from what it is, a rejection of older ways of thinking. A way of saying, we had this dogmatic slumber, we took these things for granted, and now we're enlightening ourselves. I don't see how those tools are contradictory to things that communists have said. There are some valid criticisms of the systems as they were placed that communists have made. And I think rejecting that is just kind of lazy, honestly.
What do you think, John?
I think John exists in like 4 bits right now.
Oh yeah, he's having internet
Is
issues.
my definition still okay? Or is my definition horrible?
We can hear you.
I actually tend to agree with it, you, Don. I do think that the Enlightenment, by kind of taking a hammer to old order and saying, let's actually question everything that has come before and supported us so far. I think that I don't think that that's fundamentally different from communism. I actually agree with you. I do think that the way the Enlightenment has been used in Western civilization and some of its aspects contradict a lot of communist aspects. But I agree that the tools can be used for good or ill. They're just tools.
So top comment here from E.96249 user says, everyone's a communist until it's time to stand in a mile-long queue for a slice of bread. Is that a, thanks for the comment, by the way, but is that a necessary outcome for communism, Don?
Is it a necessary outcome? I don't want to make necessary claims, but we have seen that the USSR's version of communism and many other countries' version of communism did result in that. I mean, that is a true fact. But we can also look at the Chinese Communist Party, who are one of the second strongest empires of the world today, and it's only been almost 100 years, not even 100 years yet, maybe 100 years of that a nation existing and them flourishing. Maybe that was because of communism that they were able to achieve that. But I think that statement is kind of like a platitude, right? It's like everyone's a capitalist until they don't have work and are sitting and like fighting over bread in the streets, right? This is well, it's a nice comment. It doesn't actually do anything. It's a deepity, in my opinion.
Ah, interesting. Well, shall we continue?
Yeah. Yeah, let's go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay, John is forbidding it up here, but he'll be back.
Yeah.
That the evolution of greater egalitarianism and participation for all people, whatever their gender or race, is a trajectory that they're defending?
I would have thought that that's what they would say, but they literally said the opposite. And it's honestly the most stunning thing to face people who would stare down the Enlightenment and claim that, in fact, it's a kind of fraud, that really the whole idea that the Enlightenment is a key to insight is a rationalization for the naked wielding of power, that it's not really insight at all, that the arguments that are powerful in science are really just power arguments. They're not arguments about truth or mechanism or anything like that. So, yeah, before I had these conversations myself, I would have said exactly what you conjectured. But
I want to
having
confirm
had
that
them,
they have jumped the shark.
Yeah.
So just recently, about a month ago in the UK, there was a clickbait TV interview between Piers Morgan and somebody whose name I can't remember. But Piers was criticising her for her support of the hijacking of the left-wing movement in the UK, and strawmanned her. Piers Morgan said, "Well, you know, it was over immigration, and he said, well, your hero Obama did so and so and so and so under his presidency," and she responded with these very words. She said, "Obama's not my hero. I'm literally a communist, you idiot." Now, what happened next was the clip went viral. People started cheering as if that was a great response, that she shut up Piers Morgan, who is in need of shutting up on many an occasion, but not by proudly announcing you're a communist. Now, that's what's happened, right? So they've jumped the shark. She didn't try and argue a defense of Enlightenment values against his position, and taken a pro-immigration position from an egalitarian perspective. She basically ditched all of that, said she was a communist. What happened next fascinated me even more. There's a magazine, what was it? What's that magazine she was featured in? It was
Teen Vogue.
Some
of you may have missed it.
Or was it Ella magazine?
No, Teen Vogue. I assure you, I bought both.
Right.
A fine intellectual quarterly.
Douglas reads them in the sauna. But it said, and it was headlined, something along the lines of, just so I'm not, defaming anyone, because of course I just won a great defamation case, 3.4 million, thank you. It was a...
Imagine that, winning 3.4 million.
It said something along the lines of, hero shut up Piers Morgan, by quipping.
What was it?
I was saying, I remember meeting up with Majid, and when we were all having dinner and stuff, he was just over the moon excited. He was bouncing around the place.
Who wouldn't be? After getting $3.4 million.
Yeah. That was wild. Who was that against again? I can't remember.
Yeah, who was that woman's name? Who was that lady?
No, it was he won the money. There was a publication that defamed him. Majid Nawaz wins.
I'm looking that up right now.
Oh yeah,
Quillette?
No, it was Quillam. Quilliam.
Quillam Foundation has closed. Oh, they even closed because of
No,
that.
sorry, the SPLC apologized and paid him 3.37.
Southern Poverty Law Center? Oof.
Yes.
Ouch.
The Southern Poverty Law Center.
Ouch. Southern Poverty Law Center. 3.37 million.
Yep.
Good.
That's a big victory.
Yeah. It's a huge victory, actually.
Well, hello to everyone who's here. Make sure you guys subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. I'm sure most of you are. This show is going to be happening every Sunday. Also, smash that like button. Take 1 second to smash that like button. It really helps for the health of the stream, and it helps push this video out to more people.
Of course. Do it now. It takes 2 seconds. Just blick, and then it's done.
Yeah, so, but now, just a little side note on Douglas Murray. He, Don, I think you saw this too, but he was kind of standing in for Piers Morgan, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's on Piers Morgan Uncensored. Douglas Murray is now Piers Morgan. It's a fun arc.
So wait a second. Well, what's Piers Morgan now then? He's not taking his job, has he?
Maybe Piers Morgan is going to go report live from Israel. I don't know. Maybe Piers Morgan is now Douglas Murray. Who knows?
We're going to tag team this thing.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. Shall we finish this clip off?
Let's finish this clip off. This clip is doing outstanding, by the way.
That she's literally a communist, as if that was a good thing. And that magazine was printed in D.C. The journalist who wrote it was in Washington, D.C.
The moral frivolity of deciding to forget the Gulag in order to win a point of Piers freaking Morgan is a real disgrace. Anyhow,
but again, something here, Don. Not all communism has to end up like the Gulag, right? I'm not excited about communism, but it doesn't.
But I think they're really just treating that word like socialist, or like the word like the way in which monarchs treated like nationalists or like capitalists. Like some people go, oh, now it's okay to say that you're a capitalist. In some leftist circle, that is what it is. Like you could be proud of you. There might be a valid reason for someone to be proud of being a communist, but to just say I'm a communist is a way to dismiss an argument or a position. I mean, they can be proud of it. Why not? I mean, just why not? I don't see an issue with that. I really don't. Actually, I think this is a little circle jerking, in my opinion. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that individual people can be proud of it for reasons that they deem to be good reasons. However, in my opinion, I do think that the system is of such a nature that it does necessarily produce suffering and death of some form, just because at scale, central planning is by nature inefficient. And for reasons like that, I don't think that the Gulag is particularly necessary. I do think that shortages and surpluses in various areas is necessary. So I actually think the breadline comment is a little bit more fair.
What do you think about the fact that the CCP, a communist nation, has able to match and grow its might in such a way? Is that not a positive? Is that not a positive for communism? For example, like if you would tell me, oh, here's an argument for capitalism, and then point out the United States, I wouldn't disagree with you. I'd say, yeah, that's evidence for the success of capitalism. Why isn't China evidence of the success of communism?
Well, the reason is because there's two reasons. One, China's been able to keep its economy afloat by liberalizing its economic policy in areas. They have like special zones where like they stop being as communist to allow the market to work a little bit better. And those are kind of like the buoys that the overall economic weight is sitting upon. And the other thing that we should realize is that the GDP in China is a little bit misleading because they build empty cities. Their birth rate's a problem too, but I would say that one, the data out of China is mildly misleading when you realize they build empty cities. And two, you also have to understand that their economy isn't purely communistic. They have increasingly had to liberalize certain areas just in order to keep the dead weight of the communist stuff afloat. Now,
Sure,
America's
sure, but America has done the
basically
same thing. They have socialized many of their markets. The government has severely regulated some markets for that
yeah.
success as well, right? But that doesn't just mean, oh, communism, therefore stupid.
But I would argue that those are weights. I would argue that it's the opposite. I would argue that those are weights that America succeeds in partially. In some cases, it's useful as a stabilizing mechanism, as all anchors are, but also fundamentally is minimizing efficiency to some extent. I think America is strong enough that it can drag some of those more socialistic policies along, while China's economic plan is so weak that
I understand what you think, but don't you see that what we're talking about, just whether it's evidence or not, it is evidence, though, right? It is evidence for the success of communism.
I have a couple questions here. Don, do you see some positive elements in capitalism?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. And when John comes back, I'm going to ask John
if he sees any positive elements in communism.
Yeah, I want to hear him say the words. There are some positive things about communism.
What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are positive things to both of these systems. John, are there positive elements to communism in your perfect world?
Okay, if you want me to devil's advocate this, I can.
No, I just want you to. I just want you to.
Is that
I want to. Sorry, John. I'm interested to hear you say communism does some things well, if you believe that.
I think communism. I don't think there is almost anything good about it economically. It has very good potential. I do think, though, communism avoids some of the cultural pitfalls that capitalism does. I would say that communism and essentially all non-completely free market economies have the benefit that capitalism doesn't of keeping cultures unified and keeping social atomization from happening and at a higher rate.
Oh, and he dropped that.
So it sounds like John said that there without saying the words because it might be blasphemous.
It's blasphemous.
But I do get that, and I am sympathetic to when Douglas Murray says people just forget about the Gulag. I do agree that we need to keep history alive and understand where we have gone wrong by the human well-being standard.
Yeah.
But we also don't want to be, scared of the shadow of the past to such a point where we throw out good ideas while throwing out the bad ideas, right?
I would agree 100%. Like one thing that I get into a lot with communists is when they talk about no borders, they want no borders. They're not interested in borders whatsoever. And I always think to myself, are you serious? Do you seriously not want borders? Do you not believe in democracy? Because any democratic body needs a border to establish who can vote and who can't vote, right? That is a political border. That is a real border, and you can't just ignore that's a fact. A lot of communists go, oh, we don't want borders, we don't want nations, we don't want states at all. Really, no governing body? Is this just some sort of weird anarchic form where people are just going to live together like in the prairie? No, these things matter. You can't both simultaneously argue for self-determination and a people's right to represent themselves and then say no borders. That literally makes no sense. And then also for the environmentalists, real quick, I know I'm ranting, for the environmentalists who argue no borders, well, how are you going to mitigate the flow of invasive species? How are you going to do that? There has to be some sort of checkpoint where these things are checked. These are what the point of borders are so important.
Yeah, I think the anarchists are probably going to say that this is going to be hired by or solved by individuals making their offering their own individual services and companies, right, to handle these things as the need arises.
That sounds crazy though. Companies doing it. I don't want companies doing it.
I know the whole anarchy thing is it's hard not to laugh at it for me. But everyone, I wanted to remind you all that June 1st is our next huge event. It's going to be massive. We're going to be doing these. Don's going to be there. in New York City. So yeah, it's New York City, June 1st. Dinesh D'Souza going head to head. No escape for either of these guys, Dinesh D'Souza and Alex O'Connor, the artist formerly known as Cosmic Skeptic, is going to be going head to head. The topic is the Bible true? Don, is the Bible true in any way?
True in any way? Yeah, of course. Of course, it's like it has name. Spider-Man is true in some ways, right?
Right.
Like New York City is a real thing.
There's some metaphorical truth grinded into that thing, man.
Oh, Jordy Peterson. But yeah, of course there are. I mean, there's so much insights to take from any literature. I mean, we had someone on our Discord which said something really fun about Jordan Peterson that I always end up repeating, which is Jordan Peterson is like Deepak Chopra, except Deepak Chopra tries to ground his like reality in science, and Jordan Peterson tries to do it in fairy tales. Like that's the only difference.
Well, I mean, I think it's hard to sum up a person, in a few words, right? There are a lot of things about Jordan that I think makes him an extraordinary person and thinker, but I also our clip start, but I also think that
started,
but I also think that this suffering avoidance calculus that is at the core of what drives the good life for him is a mistake. And going out there to maximize and pursue well-being is the correct step. There's a difference between living a life of suffering avoidance and a life of pursuing well-being, and I think the latter is the proper route to a good life for any purposes that anyone would really want to pursue. But
yeah, I would 100% agree, and I think we've spoken about a lot about how Jordan Peterson tries to just avoid suffering as opposed to try to maximize your well-being, and sometimes suffering is going to come out of that. So if you only take into account one thing, you're not going to be able to grow your joy or happiness or whatever it might be.
Yeah, and I agree with the comment there by Casante. Thanks for the comment. Says Peterson is pretty good at public speaking. Yeah, he is an excellent orator, and he understands theater, and you're going to start hearing a lot more of this coming from the Pangburn Universe and how theater is incorporated into this philosophical metaverse that we have here. There's a reason why so many of our ancient and more contemporary philosophical writers use playwriting and dialogue in their work to try to communicate things that otherwise would be too difficult to communicate.
I agree. I mean, plays, movies, films, these are things that are pieces of amazing work. They take thought and time and effort, and they tell us great things. My issue is that Jordan Peterson thinks that there's like he uses like Jungian archetypes and like reads into the text and puts himself into the text and then draws conclusions out of it, as opposed to just what is the text telling you and how do we know?
From a Bible Bible perspective, the way that the Bible is taught by most preachers, Jordan is committing blasphemy when he does this. He's reading his own, clinical psychological lens into the text, and that's a no-go. But Dinesh D'Souza, for the event on June 1st, is my best prediction is that he is going to defend miracles. He's going to defend the claims in Scripture, the ones that we've all.
I mean, that's his playbook.
Right.
Just defend it. He's a Christian through and through. So,
John, what do you think about Alex O'Connor getting his the title shot against Dinesh D'Souza? This is a big event for Alex. I mean, Dinesh is not. Look, if you guys go and look at the conversation between Dillahunty and Dinesh, everyone thought that Dillahunty was going to come in and just steamroll over Dinesh D'Souza.
Mm-mm.
And you can, if you watch that and try to take as much of your bias out of it as you can, but if you watch it, I think that was a very balanced presentation of their ideas, and no one looked foolish outside of your assessment of the ideas themselves. Dialectically, I think they were quite well matched.
Yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting. I mean, as you say, Alex has been growing quite a bit recently. I remember like following him like 5 years ago. It was around the same time I first contacted Pangburn, and seeing, he's at Oxford Union. He was debating Ben Shapiro about whether religion's effects are good. That was recently. So seeing him here is good. And I also 100% agree with the Dinesh thing. Dinesh is like, he's excitable, but he's also, when he's arguing, in my experience, he's very kind of cool and calm, especially at least compared to Dillahunty. And I find Alex to be the same way. So I think it's going to be a really kind of interesting matchup of people who have a very similar demeanor. But I also tend to agree. I don't think Dinesh is going to go like the Jungian Peterson route where everything's metaphorical, as much as I do love that. I think he's going to be, I think it's going to be kind of exactly what you get. We're not debating whether it has good effect, not debating whether religion's morality is good. It's just, is the shit in this book true or false? And I think that's what a lot of people, especially a lot of atheists I know, want to hear. They want to hear straight up on the text itself. I could go Petersonian and say there's no such thing as itself. You have interpretive layers, but I think it's good.
What we can say that when especially when we talk about Christianity in America or Islam in the Middle East or Judaism in West Jerusalem, we're talking about people who take the text fundamentally true. And a lot of times when we talk about the question, is the Bible true? We're specifically asking, are these claims true? Like, let's get real. Or is it a metaphor? And I think that when we talk about layers of metaphors, we know what most people mean as true. And I think this is what the point of the debate is. What do people mean as true? And by that standard, I think that talking about the Bible, whales eating, fish eating people, seas splitting, water turning into blood, people dying and coming back to the dead, that's not true. That's not a true thing that has happened. It's not a historical truth. I think that's what people are asking most of the time.
Yeah, when people say, is this true, they mean literally true in the fact of historical truth. Yes. And Peterson doesn't like that. He doesn't want to conflate historical truth with the broader sense of the word truth. So that's why, he's very irritating to people, and I understand why. So it's nice to nail down the specific type of literal truth that we're talking about. And I think it's going to be a good show. I'm excited. I might even be able to.
And I will say, just a little behind the scenes, Dinesh and Alex are both pumped up about this. They've been very enthusiastic about sharing this with their audience. They're ready to go. They are, this is all pre-fight excitement right now. So everyone should be excited. And of course, we're going to be filming the event in 4K. It's going to be a 5-camera angle shoot. We're going to be doing some more interesting things that are going to be announced at a later time related to this event. But we're going to create a beautiful video for all of you on YouTube so that you'll be able to enjoy it. We of course need the support, so we hope that you come to New York City and join us for the event. The event's selling well. Everything's a go, and it's just an exciting place to be in right now, knowing that we have this big discussion. I haven't been this excited about a discussion in a long time. So
I do want to add that if you want to help the channel and you also don't want to just give money away, there is a store now with fun merch you can get. Just get it. It really helps Travis out. It helps the rest of us out. That money gets used back for production, right? It either goes to charity or gets used right back for production.
Yeah. And I will say this for the record too. Every single penny that Pangburn brings in, minus I live a pretty meager life. I kind of am inspired by Mr. Beast to put all of that money back into new content. So that's what I do with any revenue from the channel. There's also going to be some really fun code cracking money giveaway videos coming up where all of you who are good at solving puzzles and cracking codes, there's going to be some new videos dropping on the channel where you're going to have a chance to win some money and use that big, sexy brain of yours here at Pangburn.
To make cash. Easy cash. Just watch a video, solve a puzzle, make some money. Exactly. It doesn't get easier than that.
Yeah.
I do want to move forward to our next topic we have to talk about.
Yeah, we got about 15 minutes. Hey, Don.
Oh, do we really? We only have 15 minutes left? Okay, so you know what we need to talk about? We need to talk about Cenk Uygur, because that's really what we got to talk about, okay? Okay, that's the most important topic of
and also we need to make sure John is at a coffee shop or something next time, or somewhere with good Wi-Fi.
This will not be a problem again. I'm telling you.
It's all good, man.
Again. One time sorry.
It's all good.
So you recently made a video about Cenk and Douglas Murray's discussion, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was. Look, I agreed with Douglas for a lot of what he had to say there. I think the thing with Douglas is he falls into that, like, attacking the person and not the argument, sometimes attacking the character. I understand that this is what people are used to, but look, what I try to promote, which I call, the Pangburnian dialectic, is when you, as a minimum requirement, enter the dialectic in good faith. That means sincerity of intentions, and with an attitude of helpfulness. So that would look very strange on these type of news programs, but that's what I want to see in the future. I want to see people having good faith, helpful discussions. That doesn't mean you can't be passionate, but things like targeting the person and, like, ad hominem
instead of his argument or something like that, like the classic fallacies, right? So
like I think that needs to be avoided. So that was my one critique for Douglas, but the information exchanged and the moral attitude and who I thought was right morally, I was on Douglas Murray's side. I think he's on the right side of history here. And before Cenk Uygur started, he was asked, after Douglas gave his kind of general attitude towards what has been going on and what he's been seeing in the media, Pierce said, do you agree with anything Douglas Murray has said here? And Cenk Uygur said no to anything. Like, and it wasn't like Douglas was saying like all non-factual things. Like, I understand if Cenk disagrees with who's doing right and who's doing wrong, but Douglas was citing a lot of facts, and Cenk was just like, no, disagreed with all of it. It didn't seem like he was listening, or he was just in this mode of, Douglas Murray bad, Douglas Murray say things said wrong, like it
is that the level of analysis?
Is that our official prediction of his eternal monologue? Is that
look, and that's just how I felt after watching that, and I went through it, and I've only done like the first part of it so far, but so far from what I have gone through, it just seemed like Douglas Murray was on point, especially with his talking about how the basic ideas of how war is not easy and war is not perfect, and there are going to be mistakes, but there doesn't seem to be any appreciation for that on the side of Cenk Uygur.
I think that's an important thing to focus on, is that, first of all, Cenk running for president and doesn't understand what war is a problem. I think that we have to recognize that while war is a thing we want to avoid, it's not a thing that we don't recognize as legitimate, or it's not a thing that we don't try to prepare for. These things happen throughout human history, in the same way that we know that migration is going to be a thing. That's why we don't close down our border and say there's no migration. The same way that we know that natural disasters are going to be a problem, which is why we set up funds and organizations and that help us do that during a time of a hurricane or an earthquake. we have to recognize there's going to be a time where there's going to be conflict like this. It has been part and parcel of human history, and to not recognize it as as a reality and understanding how to navigate that reality is very ignorant. It's just seems to me super ignorant and idealistic in a way that just it makes him automatically unqualified for president. You're going to have to war might happen, and you're going to have to act on it.
And I think idealistic is really the word there. It's not just that he's opposed to war; it's that he just, as you say, he doesn't really understand that war is. Even when war happens, he assumes that it is like a computer game where you can be perfectly efficient and perfectly correct all the time. There's a lack of appreciation for the fog of war. So I think your term about idealistic is hitting the nail on the head. That's absolutely true. Luckily, though, he's not really running for president, as far as I'm aware.
He is literally running for president.
He is technically running for president. When I'm saying not really, he said that he's running just because he wants to suck away enough support for Joe Biden that some other candidate runs through the door. Which, speaking of idealistic, that's not going to happen. Cenk Uygur not have the clout to.
Who's he expecting? The Rock, Dwayne Johnson?
Huh?
Who's he expecting? The Rock to come in like he's entering a tag team match?
I also want to remind everyone that Cenk Uygur unironically advocated for bestiality and then doubled down when pushed against it on his show. Do you not know this, John? That he outright was like, if I become world dictator, the first thing I will do is make it okay. I would make bestiality okay if the horse likes it. That's where he goes.
Well-being, right? Who cares? If everyone's enjoying themselves, if there's no psychological damage after.
You can't.
It's not surprising.
Well, John brings up a good point. But also, John, disgust matters to our psychological well-being, right? Right?
True.
John, an animal can consent though. Under no notions can it consent to being fucked or fucking. It's not a thing. Oh, you see enough comments?
No.
Are you secretly afraid that's what's happening here?
No, not the pedophilia. The bestiality defense comic where it has the thought bubbles for the dog. It's the most worst thing you've ever seen in your life.
I've never seen that. I've actually never seen that at all whatsoever.
There's dark places in the internet. Yeah, I agree. Obviously, it's horrible, and it's horrible for a million reasons. Consent is one of them. I think some of my other reasons you guys would disagree with. But no, it's not surprising that he would advocate for this. I'm not surprised, actually.
Yeah, why would anyone?
I'm a little bit, but not really. It doesn't matter.
Well,
yeah.
Recently, no, he doesn't have a chance to win, and I think that really annoys me. I consider myself to be a progressive on the left. I really do, and for him to try to put pressure on Biden in any way. First of all, you're not doing anything. This is just way out of your league, and it's embarrassing. Let's just recognize, Cenk, that this is embarrassing for you. You are embarrassing yourself doing this over and over again. You tried to run for office before and you lost, and then you can't even get local office, and now you're trying to run for president. It's A, pathetic. B, you weren't born in the U.S. You have to be born in the U.S. to be eligible to run for president. I don't know what you're thinking. What the point is.
And this is coming from, by the way, a left-wing progressive.
Yes.
And not that should mean everything, but that must mean something.
I mean, what sense does that make? If your attempt is to actually weaken the Democratic base, you're helping Trump get elected. Let's just be pragmatic and real for 5 seconds. Be pragmatic at least. If Democrats are not going to vote for Biden, then Republicans are just going to keep voting for Trump. We need to win. Trump can't be president. Trump cannot be president. Period. End of story.
Well, the theory is that he just weakened Biden in the primary, so you have a stronger candidate later in Newsom or somebody. But I agree. That's not particularly realistic.
John, are you voting? John, are you voting for Trump?
Probably. I'm not going to give a strong, definitive answer until the moment comes, because the future is a weird place. Maybe he won't be the nominee, although he probably will be. The answer is probably, which I know neither of you is going to like. But
well, I mean, I look,
or I'll vote the party. There's a potentiality I just vote Libertarian. We'll see.
I'm absolutely begrudgingly. I mean, hopefully, because
You can't
soon
be
I will get my
surprised, right?
citizenship this year. Hopefully, this will be my first election, and I will begrudgingly enter that ballot box and vote for Joe Biden, because I would
Well,
rather
see,
have a piece of shit with corn in it than a piece of shit with anthrax in it. That's
well,
how.
you've said this 2 times now. This is a point I want to hit on. It's not really that people vote for Joe Biden, like some do. It's more about people voting against Trump. Like that's what I've really noticed. That's why even some fellow right wingers who I disagree with on this, they say, how is it possible that Joe Biden got like the most votes of any president ever? There is no way in hell this guy who did not run a campaign is really that popular. And and they're right. So some of them include necessary cheating. I say maybe cheating, but we don't know. Really,
all I heard was
it's
maybe he was
it's not that
cheating,
divine
and then
plot.
my tinfoil hat bubble, like my tinfoil hat senses come off. All I heard was maybe cheating. I don't know how to deal with the tinfoil hat energies that I just got on. But can you explain what you mean by he's definitely
Maybe it's
cheating?
tinfoil hat. Reasonably possible. I said it was reasonably possible, and you put on a tinfoil hat.
I can barely hear you. I'm hearing like
but
8-bit.
John, we'll set up
right.
a better connection for John for next show. But yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at some of the comments here. Everyone, thanks for engaging in the text chat. There's some good ones here. Old Jim Bob says Cenk does a lot of interrupting, and on his show he turns his opponent's sound down while turning his own mic gain up. He isn't a fair play dude. Does he actually do that? That's really funny.
I wouldn't be surprised. If it does. Alex Jones does that. All the hosts. What?
For those who don't know, Jim Bob is a Pangburn Universe veteran, and we appreciate the insightful comments.
Yeah, that is true, right?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, Cenk, he can't be president, right? Like, just to get this clear, like, for as much as you guys know about, just to kind of put a lid on this, he can't be president of the United States, even if he was voted in, right? Or he can't get on the ballot.
Real quick,
right?
Very quick. Yeah. You guys asked me a question about who I'd vote for. Don, if it were possible for Cenk to get on the ballot, if it were possible for him to run, if it was Trump v. Cenk, where you going?
Oh my God! Oh my goodness!
That's a good question.
I would actually abstain. I would be like, I'm not doing this. I would be like, I'm not making this. I cannot. What do you mean? This decision would be like, Cenk can't be president. That guy has.
Don would go back to Israel at that point.
I would just go back to. So Cenk tweeted. He tweeted this a few days ago. Actually, yesterday, January. He said this: Could Palestine have political power in the U.S. for the first time in history because of how critical Michigan is? Biden is down 10 points in that state. If he doesn't change his position of greenlighting Israel's massacre, he's very likely to lose a general election. Why is this tweet so stupid, for lack of a better word? Why is it so stupid? Because let's just say Biden's favorability is down. They don't. Do you think pro-Palestinians are going to vote for Trump over Biden? Like, do you think that's actually going to hurt him? I think that anybody who's pro-Palestinian who is put in the position of, do I vote for Trump or do I vote for Biden? Trump is going to be like, yeah, whatever, missiles, rockets, nukes, whatever you need. Trump is much more of a war hawk than Biden. Why would they ever do that? Why would they ever do? It just shows how ignorant he is of how politics works. It's shocking to me that a person who's been sitting in front of a camera for years and years, has learned political science, thinks this way. It's shocking to me.
Well, I mean, I think he's trying to appeal to a certain kind of person in these tweets, and he's playing, he's playing the funny game that we all sit back and watch in other countries that the United States play when they start getting ramped up for an election.
Yeah, I guess so. It
is interesting to see. Yeah, I mean, like, he might be right that like some pro-Palestine people will stay home and they won't vote for Trump, but they also won't vote for Biden, and that's bad for Biden, because Trump was never going to get those guys anyway. like maybe, but
Mhm.
I don't
you
think
know,
so.
the closer we get to elections, like, you know, the more the propaganda mill just kind of turns and turns and gets faster and faster. So it's going to be interesting to see how that happens and to see if it affects the polls at all as the election actually draws nearer. I'm really interested in that.
I do want to. Painless said there's a big difference between being pro-Palestinian and being pro-Hamas. I 100% agree. There is
This is
a
right.
definite. I believe that I'm pro-Palestinians. I don't want Palestinians to live under Hamas. I don't want them to live under occupation. Those in the West Bank, I do not want that. I want solutions that would ameliorate that condition. But
So
I'm absolutely
Don,
against Hamas.
I agree.
by the way, what Don just said is exactly how Douglas Murray feels. For anyone out there who is confused about that, there are people out there that think Douglas Murray hates Palestinians or something like that, or he wants to see Palestinians wiped off the face of the earth.
So they listen to Cenk too much.
Yeah. He has mentioned his feelings about Palestinians, and it echoes precisely what Don just said.
Yep.
Yeah, that seems eminently reasonable. I'm not sure if I haven't really found anybody who like truly does not give a shit about Palestinian civilians. The most radical person on the other side that I've ever talked to has said, I care about Palestinian civilians, but because the brainwashing is so bad, we have to assume that they are basically all, if not terrorists, potential terrorists. I think that's a bridge too far, but that's kind of like the furthest right, like furthest pro-Israel thing that I've ever heard. And even those people say they care.
Right.
So you know, even the most
Even those,
radical real life people are
John,
lower than like caricature.
John, even those
Yeah.
people are going to say, those people who are taking that hard of a line, they're going to say that I think then the right option is to offer rehabilitation and the proper mental health care and all those things for people who may have been indoctrinated into this fucking cult.
And
One second. The Israeli ambassador, she was on the LBC, it's a British network, and she spoke about this, and they said, "Well, what do you want to do?" You're right. Like the Palestinians as a whole have very high favorability of Hamas. That happens, but also the Japanese had of their empires, and the Japanese were, they were pretty intense during World War II, and America,
pretty intense, maybe the most intense in history, maybe.
Right? They were, but
recorded history.
Today it's a very strong secular nation and their culture has developed. I want the same thing for the Palestinians, and I think it's 1000% possible for them.
Yes.
I do not believe other. I don't believe it's in their blood. I don't believe that they're inherently evil or killer. It's not the case. There's a situation, a geopolitical situation that I think is untenable to let Israel handle entirely on its own. You're going to see a country that is not built for such a prolonged contest. It's not built for such long military action, and that's why it's swift and deadly. To expect a country that size, the size of New Jersey, to do that, it's not going to happen. It's just going to maintain the status quo. So,
but to mass re-educate the way that that kind of happened in the aftermath of World War II and Nazi Germany and Japan. Like, you think we have, you think Douglas Murray is hot now. You think that Israel gets heat now, which is of course what Hamas was looking for, by the way. If Israel tried to come in and along with the UN and top down re-educate, which is kind of what it sounds like, is the idea that we're discussing here. I think things would get even worse. I think you'd see even bigger rallies. I think you get even more of Douglas Murray being hot, let's say.
That's why I don't think it should be Israel. It needs to be there was an attempt with UNRWA, and that was a failure. Yeah. But there needs to be a joint European, EU, United States, international community.
It would be just as hot, that.
But I don't think it can be such as hot. For example, UNRWA was setting up their schools to begin with. All the public schools in Gaza were that after Hamas killed Fatah and took over the nation. It was still that. But those schools were just I think the model is there, and I think it's 1000% possible. But we have hit our hour on the hour, so
time to put a lid on this.
Well, Don, before you wrap this up, it is kind of a special day because it is my wife's birthday. And I just want to put a shout out to my beautiful, amazing, perfect wife, and we are going to go have a dinner now. So, and I just wanted to say thank you all who dropped by and who stuck with us through this first episode of the Pangburn update. It's great fun always speaking with Don and John. And I hope you guys go over and follow their new Pangburn Universe channels. John, what's your? It's at John.
It's John Parker PU.
I'm going to post mine in the link.
It's called The War of Ideas. Interview lots of cool people who've been on the Joe Rogan Experience. Sometimes I just react to stuff. Content Kitchen is a little bit cool right now because it's been the holidays, but believe me, in the next year, it's going to be hot and like clockwork. And I think you guys are all really going to enjoy it. So
I can't promise such a I have on and off periods, but I promise you that my content is always engaging, and it's always good, and it's always going to make you think and learn something new. So I can definitely tell you that. I posted in the link, by the way.
It always makes me yell at the screen if that's any endorsement.
And everybody, before you do any of that stuff we just talked about, join our Discord server. We 1,000%. Have conversations like this all day, every day going on in our Discord server.
And it's where me and Don came from.
Yeah, and we pop in here and there, and you can just come and talk to us as well. It's very chill, very relaxed, not a big deal. I mean, there's a great group of people to hang out with.
We're usually laughing so hard that we're almost pissing our pants. So everyone has a really good time, and we have a lot of different voice channels you could drop into. We have the Pangburn Library, which is the ongoing text chats that all have their own categories that you can contribute to. There's lots of stuff going on. So do join us on Discord. And if that link doesn't work for you, just search Pangburn Discord on Google and you will find it.
I stream every week on Tuesday. John, when do you do your streams usually?
I'm kind of losing you guys. So I stream every Monday night, whether it's a interview with the guest or whether it's a reaction to something big going on. Monday night streams are my live, and then you'll get shorts of it throughout the rest of the week.
Okay, and with that, I remind you all to like, subscribe. Hit that bell notification so you know when we're live. We're going to be live again Sunday, the same time, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And what's our main line? Good conversations. I always forget it exactly.
Welcome to the Pangburn Universe, governed by the laws of good faith and helpfulness.
There we go. That's the ending. I'll get it next time. Yeah. Peace out, everyone.
Complex situation that requires a tremendous amount of adult cognitive computation to solve, like what do we do about the borders, because tearing them down is not the answer. Well, the person who stands up and says, well, I see someone who's hurt by a border and I feel empathy for them, then immediately says, therefore I'm good, which isn't so bad, but therefore I'm also morally superior to you. And this is one of the true pathologies of the empathic collectivists, is that they presume that their reflexive empathy